Good evening and welcome to everyone out there in the virtual space. I am Brother Dr. Leonard C. McInnes II, Illinois District Director of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We are joined by the District Historian and also a member of the Midwest Region History Commission, Brother Chuck Smoot. Brother Chuck Smoot, good evening to you.
Good evening, brother District Director. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. Listen, to all of those who are watching out there on YouTube and Facebook and other social media outlets, we are thrilled to welcome you to the final installment of our Fireside Chat for the year 2024. And Chuck Smoot, we've had an extraordinary year with these Fireside Chats.
We absolutely have. It's been incredible.
We have explored a number of topics: faith and Black Greek life, history makers and movers and shakers in this dear fraternity and beyond, voting rights, voter education. We've had an extraordinary year. And Brother Smoot, I am very excited to close this year out with a conversation that we're calling Reflections on a General Presidency, featuring our very own General President of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Brother Dr. Willis L. Lonzer III. Are you excited, Smoot, about this conversation?
I am. It's always great to be around Brother Lonzer, and it's always great to have this. I think we've done some great work this year, and I think before we move forward, I do want to take just a moment of personal privilege. As you said, we've done some incredible discussions, and primarily I want to give you credit, Brother McInnes, for this started as a idea I had, and then you refined it, and it's been this thing where we've gotten great reactions, great results. We've had some outstanding conversations, and all of this happens even when you don't return phone calls. So, but I do want to remind those who are watching that all of our previous conversations are available on our YouTube channel. So please go to our YouTube channel, District of Illinois, and you can like and subscribe, because we're planning stuff for 2025. And 2025 is promising to be a great year. I want to remind people two other really great discussions that we had last year that you didn't mention, and it's easy because we did so many. But we had our General President-elect, Lucian Metellus, for a fireside chat, which was a great discussion. And last week, we had one of the District of Illinois' great historians, Brother Richard Lawson, where we were able to have a conversation with him and honor him. And so, there's so much information that we're putting out there, and we should thank everyone who has supported us this year, and, looking forward to what's going to come next year.
That's right. Well, listen, in a moment, we're going to bring on stage the General President of Alpha Phi Alpha, Brother Willis L. Lonzer. And I want to take one 20-second point of personal privilege as well, Brother Smoot, and say something about Brother Lonzer. I joined Alpha Phi Alpha in the fall of 2001 via Mimu chapter. At the time, our advisor was a man named Brother John M. Williams, who had recently relocated to Chicago or the Naperville area. He was working for Nissan and Infiniti. And Brother Williams sponsored my college brothers, my line brothers, Seth Wilson and Brad Bozeman and Daniel Taylor, to our first regional convention. And we were young. We had sand behind our ears and our forehead and all over our shoes. I mean, we were dusty, okay? We were dusty alphas. And I remember, and I've told this story, quite often. I remember walking into the lobby of the hotel and not knowing much about Alpha. I was a young college man who was newly initiated. And after we checked in, my line brother Seth Wilson and I saw a couple of gentlemen sitting near the bar area. One of those guys we recognized, very intimately, Brother John Williams, and they invited us over. It was Brother Lonzer and Brother Williams who were enjoying some bourbon at the lobby bar of the hotel. And here I was, a young college kid, not knowing much about the fraternity. And both Brother Williams and Brother Lonzer invited Seth and I to have a seat and to share bourbon with them and talk about our new experience in the fraternity. Over the years, I've known Brother Lonzer to be that kind of alpha. one who is not simply a general president, but one who is a guy you would just enjoy having a bourbon with.
Right.
And although we don't have a bourbon tonight, we can do a virtual bourbon.
We can.
It is my esteemed pleasure, Brother Smoot, to welcome to the stage for the final installment of the Illinois Fireside Chat Series, the General President of Alpha Phi Alpha, Brother Willis L. Lonzer III.
Thank you, my brother.
Good evening, Brother Lonzer. How are you?
I'm great. I'm elated to be here with you, as reflective as you have been sharing about the 9 days before the close of my administration, and how appropriate for it to be Illinois, and all of the love and the exchanges. I heard the comment about responding to messages. I'm glad that Brother Smoot is not on his antics tonight, because I was fired back. But that's the banter, the brotherly banter that we have.
That's right.
I left my backdrop of the Divine Nine up because as I served as chairman of the Council of Presidents, this was one of the drivers that I pushed for D9 Stronger Together.
Yeah.
And how appropriate that it would be through StreamYard that we had used it the most recently, and now it's a part of it. So I thought I would leave it there, and I look forward to the conversation. I mean, I love Brother Smoot in his library, and Brother District Director is in his pristine Savannah Champagne home with the baby grand and all the things in the background that we should see. So this is a great conversation. And I recall that moment when we met, Brother McInnes. You and Seth were definitely new brothers, and it was a great time for Brother John Williams and I to host you and begin to baptize you in the continual flow of brotherhood, and that is the elevation that we bring to the table. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. And if there's breakthrough noise, my family is in my home.
Oh no,
party right as I speak. I did all my duties, and I came down to my office. So if you hear a little breakthrough,
it's all good.
No, it's great. So, Brother Smoot, I am going to go backstage and listen to this wonderful conversation. I'll probably join closer to the end and maybe throw in a couple of questions to Brother Lonzer. But to I just want to say one more thing to our First Lady, Sister Pamela Lonzer. What a joy she is to this fraternity. And I just want to acknowledge her tonight, because I know that she's a strong woman of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and a woman beloved in our dear fraternity. So
well, I appreciate that, Brother McInnes, and I will say that we share similarities in our choice.
Absolutely.
As your Mrs. Dr. McInnes is definitely a woman of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, fine woman, and the as you all continue to increase your quiver. And arrows in your quiver, I wish you well, and I will live vicariously through you. So thank you, my brother, for all that you do.
All right. Okay. All right, Brother Smoot, looking forward to this.
All right, Brother Lonzer, it is a pleasure as always.
Yes, Brother Smoot.
So before we get into the meat of things, for the people who may not be aware of your background and your accomplishments, I want to take a moment just to read a brief biography on you, and then we can get right into the meat of the discussion.
Sure.
And so you are our General President, Willis L. Lonzer III, PhD, who is a respected leader in the fraternity, business, and his community, with over 30 years of experience as a trained biomedical scientist, including 24 years of global pharmaceutical research and development and global medical affairs experience. He is a native of Richmond, Virginia. He matriculated at Delaware State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry with a minor in German. While at Delaware State, he joined Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated through the Gamma Sigma chapter on November 15th, 1986. He couldn't wait for perfection until spring of 1987, but we won't go there. After college, he attended graduate school pursuing an interest in biomedicine. holds the Doctor of Philosophy degree in biochemistry from the University of Akron. Dr. Lonzer was a postdoctoral fellow and researcher in physiology and biophysics at Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine in Cleveland, Ohio. Professionally, the last 24 years of his career has been with the been within the biopharmaceutical medicine and biotechnology areas, where he's held positions of increasing responsibility within global drug development and medical affairs of several major global pharmaceutical companies. Dr. Lonzer has authored papers published in both referenced scientific and non-scientific journals, as well as book chapters. He holds or has held memberships in several professional societies, including the American Society for Human Genetics, the American Chemical Society, the National Organization of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers, the National Society of Black Engineers, the Society for Critical Care Medicine, and the American Professional Society of ADHD and Related Disorders. And Dr. Lonzer is currently a regional medical director with a global biopharmaceutical company focused on cutting-edge therapeutic treatment technology to find solutions to managing and curing human diseases. In the community, Dr. Lonzer is a resident of Chicago, Illinois, and a member of Greater Institutional AME Church.
Yes, sir.
And people, I have to say it that way because Greater Institutional AME Church is my home church. And I have to take a moment. Brother Lonzer's aunt, the Reverend Loretta Reed, is one of my favorite people on the face of the planet. As a matter of fact, I sent the link out for this to her earlier today. I said, I'm gonna be talking to Lonzer. You got to tune in. So just same church. But Brother Lonzer is also an active member of several fraternal organizations and social clubs, including Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, also known as the Boule. And he is a 33rd degree Prince Hall Mason within Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. He has been both a college and alumni chapter president. He served as the district director of Ohio, the Midwestern Regional Vice President, and a member of the General Board of Directors of the fraternity. And I would also be remiss to say that he and I are also chapter brothers, with him currently being a member of Xi Lambda chapter. So we appreciate you there. Currently, he serves as the General President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and holds the distinction of being only the 36th man to be elected General President in our 118 years of the fraternity. He also served as a member of the Council of Presidents of the National Pan-Hellenic Council of the Historically Black Fraternities and Sororities, also known as the Divine Nine, where he has served as the chairman of the Council of Presidents. And in his spare time, you have spare time, Brother Lonzer? Have you had any? He has interests, including but not limited to drinking bourbon, photography, golf, boating, and cooking, where he has confirmed competencies in the kitchen and on the barbecue, smoker, and grill.
Yes, sir.
Lastly, but not least, certainly, as Brother McKinnis referenced earlier, he is married to Pamela Lonzer, a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I think we should nominate her for sainthood status for allowing for us to have to you to deal with us for the last 4 years.
Indeed.
He is a father of 2 adult sons and 1 adult daughter, who also is a Spelmanite and also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So with that being said, we want to welcome our 36th General President, Brother Dr. Willis Lonzer. Once again, Brother Lonzer, thank you for agreeing to be with here tonight. We are overjoyed to have you.
Thank you, Brother Smoot. It's always a pleasure. And our fraternal banter is really rooted in our collegial and collegiate connection as college initiates in the 80s. I mean, I always have said that 80s brothers are special brothers. I'm sure everybody
Absolutely.
their eras is special, but the camaraderie that we share and the memories that we share are special. And I'm glad to be chapter brothers with you, to be traveling to the East with you as well.
Absolutely.
All under the Prince Hall scope
Yes, sir.
Um, Glad to be here tonight. I mean, I forgot that I admitted the Druids in the original 40 Club, and I see my cousin is on here. RT Stewart. I see you, brother cousin. Good to see you tonight. Let me tell you, it is a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation as we talk.
Well, and let's get right into it. I mean, I'm not going to ask you a lot about your time as a college brother, but I want to get into your time as a servant leader of the fraternity. We mentioned in your very brief bio um, that you served as a district director of Ohio, and you
Yeah.
served as a regional vice president in the Midwestern regional vice president. I had the pleasure of serving under you as an alumni advisor. What was it that motivated you after serving as a district director and serving as regional vice president? What was it that motivated you to want to seek the office of general president and continue to serve on that level?
Well, to be very candid with you, brother Smoot, I began to listen to the brothers when I served as the alumni chapter president at Eta Tau Lambda chapter in Akron, Ohio. Brother James R. Williams, who was our 16th Midwestern Regional Vice President and the 25th General President, was a mentor for me.
Mm.
And the brothers were very encouraging in Akron and in Ohio about ideas and concepts. And when those things started to click, and as we came together as leaders, I don't claim sole possession of all of the successes, but when we were successful as a region, placing brothers in jobs, um, having good synergies around trainings, and really developing and cultivating the Alpha Phi Alpha culture within our region and partnering with other regions and other leaders within the fraternity, seems to me it was the right equation. And I asked myself, and I asked a few brothers that I trusted, I said, do you think that this is a good path that I should try to pursue? I mean, I didn't know it. You know, if I go back to college days, I have pictures of myself with things in my hand that I probably should not have had.
Right.
Think about it. But as those things manifested themselves, and even talking to you about it back in the day, and just saying, you know, what are your thoughts? What do you think about what we're doing here? I thought what we were building in the Midwestern region was transferable to the fraternity and really would be synergistic in all of the efforts and helping us to build the momentum that Alpha Phi Alpha needed to excel and move forward.
Now, one of the things that I remember serving when I served under you when you were Midwest Regional Vice President is that you were very much, and I know we say this a lot, but you were very much an advocate for the promotion and for the activity of college brothers. Yeah. You very much were about making sure the college brothers got the best experience that you could. Yeah. And what I noticed is that you brought that to your tenure as general president. You know, you were always, you know, as even the story that you told about when you first met Brother McKinnis, I noticed at different conventions, be it a district convention or a regional convention or a general convention, that you always took time out to talk with college brothers and encourage them. And so I guess my question is there, when we say that college brothers are the lifeblood of the fraternity, in what ways did you see fit to make sure you promoted that aspect of our organization and encourage those brothers?
Well, I'm glad that you asked, Brother Smoot, because we have to continually define what lifeblood means. Alumni play a role in the lifeblood piece, but the base, the foundation of that is in our college men. We are a college fraternity at origin and at its inception.
Right.
And some of the things that I tried to make sure that we brought forward were opportunities to encourage our collegiate brothers to be engaged on the general organization level. I remember reading in the history when Senator and former Eastern Regional Vice President Edward Brooke mentioned in 1939, when he was the chairman of the college experience, if you will, for the fraternity, that there was not enough involvement of college men at the general organizational level. And that has not, it's changed, it's grown some, but it's still an opportunity for us. So what did we do? And I give credit to the brotherhood for this too. We decided to make sure that college men had access to the General Convention, and looking at it as a means of investment in men who will realize as they mature that Alpha Phi Alpha took an opportunity on me and helped me to grow and helped me to get to the convention along with the other brothers who sponsored me.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw us escorting collegiate men there, receiving free suits and registration. Certainly, that was one of the elements. Developing partnerships with various universities, Tulane University, Indiana University, soon to be, even as we come out of office, Howard University, the School of Public Health, as well
Nice.
as Notre Dame.
Nice.
And making sure that there are opportunities for brothers, but brothers who are transitioning from college to alumni, to be able to pursue the very thing that we feel is the anchor, and that's your education, to you having a successful career and being able to give back to your communities, but also ultimately back to Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity through mentorships or whatever. We pushed that, and the brothers took that on, even scholarships with several institutions that worked through us as a fraternity. Our partnership, and I think this in our instilling in the brothers, and you know this like I know this, that we were the men of distinction.
Right.
In the 80s and the 70s. We
Absolutely.
were handouts.
Absolutely.
And that brand almost was lost, but we reclaimed what was ours and began to promote it again. I think for those who missed that opportunity to come into the fraternity, hearing that we are the men of distinction, many brothers from our era, as you know, remembered the movie School Days, and how brothers from Alpha Rho said, we, the men of distinction, the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Right.
That's your chapter. Us.
Right.
It was powerful. It's very powerful. Still very powerful. But I digress. Go ahead.
No. But you're absolutely correct. But I want to pivot a little bit about the beginning of your term. You had the beginning of your term was marked by something that only one other general president before you had experienced, Brother Pollard, the 1917 influenza epidemic.
That's right.
So you came into the fraternity as general president. You came into general president rather at the height of the COVID epidemic.
Yeah.
And so, I remember your inauguration, and your inauguration was held here at the Excel Center here in Chicago. What was it like for you at the beginning of your term, dealing with the transition of becoming general president, but also dealing with the very serious situation that we had and how to manage the pandemic among the brothers in the chapters?
Well, Brother Smoot, I must say that this has been the most challenging leadership venture I have ever experienced, professionally, fraternally, because there were no plans. Really wasn't much gleaned from 1918, even, as you know.
Right.
Historically, it was, in many respects, silent to the reality of that. But how I felt about it, I felt that I needed to seek the hand of the Lord and of God for guidance, because there was no pattern, there was no plan, there was no blueprint,
right,
or black print. I don't want, there were no plans to help move us in the direction we needed to go. But I walked by faith and not by sight. I mean, I prayed and asked God to give me the wisdom to put the right people in the places that needed to be there, but has also the courage and the wisdom to manage them and to be able to move things along. If they weren't moving in the direction we needed to go, I needed to make a decision that would be right for the brotherhood. And that I've always bought that. And even when it comes to me, if I'm not giving you what you need in the past, Brother General President, I'll step out of the way so that you can put because time is so limited.
Right.
But going back and really saying it, what we saw evolve was the best of us coming together. Brother Jeff Sterling as the Surgeon General, along with our Health and Wellness Chairman, Brother Michael Smith, both physicians, and Jeff actually being Brother Sterling being a trained epidemiologist on top of it, and my scientific knowledge as an immunologist and as a biochemist, and drawing upon all of the scientific literature and data, we were able to set the precedent and deal with things in the summer when we expected a lull in the virus, and use that to eke out what the building blocks of returning to some semblance of normalcy and what those guidance standards were, and the rest of the Divine Nine bought into it and used them. So it was a real blessing to see that to fruition.
So you just touched on something, but it actually leads into the next question I wanted to ask you. How did you, being a biomedical scientist, inform or impact how you led the fraternity during the pandemic and what you were able to put in place?
Well, just to be very candid, I was very much evidence-based about what we did. Medicine, as it can be practiced, can be an art where you follow literally algorithmically what things may be done. If we do A, B, C, D, we follow this course. But when we're dealing with a deadly virus at the time, you must rely on the active literature that's there, and literally pulling the great training and skills of many other brothers in addition to Brothers Sterling and Smith to help us just galvanize and understand, what are we looking at? What should we do? What does the literature say? What does the CDC say? Our global brothers, we are a global fraternity. Sometimes we forget that, and not realizing that what's happening in here versus in Monrovia, Liberia, or Johannesburg, or London, or Punta Cana, if you will, Dominican Republic, or now even as we have a chapter in Panama, in Cologne, or in Panama City, Panama, or Toronto, which is akin to us in the Midwestern region. We have to communicate with brothers, but more importantly, educate brothers and help them to understand that we may want to go zig and zag, but we might have to go zag and zig.
Right.
Important for us to know.
Right. Well, now you mentioned the relationship with the other Divine Nine organizations. Again, as we mentioned, that you've served as the chairman of the Council of Presidents of the National Panhellenic Council. In a time, you mentioned that we brought back men of distinction, but putting the focus a little broader for a moment. In a time, we've had conversations. And I'm sure you've witnessed conversations that have happened about the relevancy of Black Greek letter organizations and how things are different now than they were like in the 80s when we got made, or before our time, where one of the issues is, are Black Greek letter organizations still relevant? During your time as a member of the Council of Presidents, how have you seen the needle move on that issue in terms of reestablishing the relevancy of our, not only Alpha Phi Alpha, but all of our Divine Nine organizations?
Well, it's a great question. I think on a daily basis, we see the dynamic need for the individual Divine Nine organizations and our collective efforts to sometimes move our community in a direction and move forward. I mean, one great example of it was the galvanization around the vice president of the United States becoming a presidential candidate. While we may not be a monolith as a community, there were certainly her being a member of the Divine Nine. We were already in alignment because as the chairman of the council in September, when I took office, I already had told them we have to be ready for this election.
Right.
There are things that we have to do. We have to vote in every election. Many things that are mantras within Alpha Phi Alpha, and spreading that message, respectfully working with each of the organizations and allowing them to also promote their message, but unifying on those points that are relevant. That's why we are able to continue to find relevancy for the Divine Nine, because the problems are still there. Social construct is still needed, and adjustments and modifications, and we're finding that there's more that we have in common than we do in difference. And if we can just put down the petty things, and the five fraternities in particular have been working on that since I came in onto the council in the time of Dr. David Marion, is immediate past Grand Basilisk of Omega Psi Phi, Attorney Reuben Shelton, who is the immediate past Grand Polemarch of Kappa Alpha Psi. Frederick Chris Ray was the president at the time, like me. We came in kind of close. He'll go out sometime next year. And then at the time, the Grand Polaris of Iota Phi Theta, and now Dr. Sean Housen is the Grand Polaris. We see that there's a lot more in common than we have. Right. And we find ways to build camaraderie as Black men, as men of color, because we all have diverse organizations, but also supporting the sisters and doing the things that they need to do. I think it's okay for us to be Black men and represent the things that we represent. So it's been a great synergy.
Now, with you, I referenced your daughter earlier. Your daughter, as I mentioned, she graduated from Spelman, right?
Yes, she did.
She did. And she's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. Did the fact that, you would post every now and then on Facebook, that you're a girl dad, and that, you're a Spelman dad. But given the cultural and social issues that were going on during your presidency, how did, now I'm flipping from your vocational to your personal, but how did being a girl dad, how did having a daughter who was in college during a time and, at one of our nation's premier colleges, I have to say that because, remember, I went to Morehouse, but how did your daughter influence you at all in terms of some of the programs and efforts that you undertook as general president?
Well, I think that one thing that I could say as a father, and I think she made the challenges that are facing this generation of young Black people, young collegians, independent of your cultural origin, that they have significant challenges, that COVID even presented significant challenges socially about how they interface and how they would integrate themselves into life. And I'm constantly telling her, some things you missed out on. It's okay for you to have to still figure out what that looks like. And to hear her go from a somewhat opinionated high schooler to a very opinionated feminist, if you will, at Spelman was eye-opening. But it definitely gave me an ear and helped me to understand the nuances, some of the fragility that's associated with them at their age and their development. But I mean, I've always been an advocate for college men, but I've also been an advocate for you to own your business and say, hey, you have to step up and be a man about what we do in terms of responsible ownership, if you will. And we use that metaphorically and very loosely, but be an adult. The adulting aspect is tough. And I've had plenty of good conversations with various chapters, but I'll pick on tall chapter, or perhaps Theta or Epsilon E Phi or maybe Epsilon Kappa, good brothers at Bradley. There are always challenges that are there, and they've taught me that you have to remind yourself that everybody's human. People make mistakes, they make errors. There's a reset every so often within the collegiate ranks, but we have to also develop and cultivate our alumni initiates as well, and help them to understand that you don't have to relive something you didn't get in college.
Right.
That walk as an alumni brother can be special for you, and endearing and emboldening and uplifting. And that's what we own as an onus as as old heads, if we could say. We go over 25 years now, but Smooth. We can say we're
Yeah,
old.
yeah. Yeah, I think a little more than 25 years. But
38, soon to be
just
38 for you, and 37, soon to be 39 for me.
yeah,
Mm,
time college days swiftly pass.
indeed.
Indeed. Now, let me ask you that. You served as the 36th. You have served as the 36th general president. We have had some amazing general presidents that served before you. I can go through the whole thing and pick out a couple of my favorite general presidents, but I want to ask you um, which general presidents influenced you the most in terms of how you were dealing with your administration?
Ah, well, I'll be very candid with you. I've gleaned from all of them. I have to say that I am very much close to Charles Teamer and James Williams. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, I didn't know Brother Sutton as well as I knew those two.
Hmm.
But Brother Teamer signed my shingle. I
Mine as well.
engaged him. That was the first general president I ever met.
Yep.
And I met him
Mhm.
in Richmond in the spring of 1987. You might have been online at that time.
I was.
And I met him at a regional convention at the Eastern Regional Convention. And it was, and God has blessed me to know he knew me. I mean, of all
Mhm.
the men in the world and in our fraternity, he knew me. And then I was under the tutelage of James Williams as his chapter president, even when he
Mhm.
retired from the bench, when the fraternity honored him. And there's a numerology thing with he and I. He is the 16th Midwestern Regional Vice President. I'm 11 behind him
Okay.
as the 27th Midwestern Regional Vice President. He is the 25th General
Ah.
President, and I am
Okay.
11
Eleven.
behind him
Right.
as the 36th. And as someone who had mentored me, it meant the world for him to say to me, Brother General President, before he transitioned to Omega chapter. What a pleasure for me. But I mean, Harry Johnson, I think Adrian Wallace. I mean, I think about Brother Tillman, but I mean, I can go on.
Hmm.
And it's great to be, with Brother Ward, but I even go back to Brother Sutton and to other general presidents who passed that I read about and tried to glean from their experiences. So I can't, and I've even given Brother Darrell Matthews his kudos about things he's done during Centennial or the galvanizing of our fraternity mission statement, drawing from our aims and our motto, which still are great in their own right, but adds to the synergies of what the fraternity has evolved to do.
Now, while after you served as district director, you moved to Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and then you came in and affiliated with Xi Lambda. And I remember when you moved here, I remember my mother telling me, that Reverend Loretta's nephew's moving to Chicago, and you got to meet him. This is before you and I actually met formally. But I've always said, and for those of us here in the Midwest, there's a friendly competition between Illinois and Ohio. About our two districts,
Yes.
we like to
compete.
We do, and Illinois always wins. But anyway, so
go there, Charles Smoot. I can't even call you Chuck tonight on that.
Yeah, you can call me Chuck.
Rosdell McKinney in Tennessee. We took some wins from the Illinois March of Dimes, but we did have a spirited competition for sure.
Yes, we did,
and it was all about elevation of the brotherhood.
Absolutely. But one of the things about Chicago, and I say this, and I don't just say this because I'm a Chicago-made brother, and but there are those who say that there's a certain Chicago swag to brothers who are made or involved in Chicago. That we move a little bit, and we move interestingly and a little bit differently. And so I'm wondering how easy it was, because you seem to come in and fit in. I mean, you weren't fortunate enough to be made in Chicago, but, But that being said, you came from a very strong district in Ohio, a very strong area in Ohio, into the lion's den of Chicago. And how did you manage that transition? And how did that impact your run for general president between being, basically from both districts? I mean, you were very popular in Ohio, very popular in Illinois as well. And how did that impact your running and part of your tenure as general president? Being that Chicago claims you now, so.
Well, yeah. I mean, I tried to really tread that carefully and respectfully. I didn't do the membership in both chapters, Eta Tau Lambda and in Xi Lambda. I chose to affiliate with Xi Lambda and four other great chapters. I just knew more brothers
Right.
in Xi Lambda. I mean, they were very much involved. I could have gone to Iota Delta Lambda or Rho Zeta Lambda, but at Theta Mu Lambda, but I just say that synergy was there, and I would say that I really leaned on the essential things we learned as brothers, that I have a brother wherever I go, and that
Absolutely,
I built on the fact that it's not about chapter centrism or because I made Alpha East and I came and really have matured in the Midwest. This is where I've spent the majority of my Alpha Phi Alpha life is in the Midwestern region.
Mm-hmm.
I was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha before there was a MAC district.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was made in 1986, and the MAC came after that.
You're old,
but I ditto, brother. Ditto. But I say that not in any disrespect to anybody.
Right.
I felt that I'm akin to any region I go into because I wear that badge with 7 encrusted pearls. The 2 adjacent phi's and a 2 adjacent alphas rather, and a superimposed phi with 5 encrusted jewels down the spine of that phi. That badge, the oath I took, the ritual that elevated me, if you will, has been what I've always fell upon. Mm-hmm. And what I loved is that I actually just, believe in the spirit of brotherhood in general. And I think that has helped me to even become more of a Chicagoan. I'm a member of the Druids. I'm a member of the original 40 Club. Those are very Chicago-based social clubs.
Right.
One of the brothers, I talked to him Saturday night at the Druids event. He's like, "How are you a member of the Druids? How did I've been a member of the Druids for 11 years. What, and how, but you're not a native Chicagoan?" Because I never saw that as a limit.
Right.
And I adapted the swag, the Chicago swag. I think we elevated the immaculate brotherhood that comes out of the Midwestern region in general. It's been a great experience. And now as I look at the denouement, the sun setting on my administration as General President, Brother Smooth, sometimes I just is the old gospel song says that my soul looks back in wonder.
Yes.
How I got over. And I just I give God all the praise for that. I mean, I do.
And one of the things that, and I got to give you a little bit of a compliment here. And you and I have had some personal conversations, but one of the things that has honestly impressed me while you were regional vice president, but I saw a lot during your general presidency, is that you have a true, not just appreciation for the history of the fraternity, but you have an understanding of the history of the fraternity. And you and I have had a couple of conversations about Alpha history, and we've gone back and forth. But for me, as a amateur historian, as a district historian, and dealing with the region, it's always comfortable to know that the general president understands the history of the fraternity. And I think it became evident when you would quote, I believe it was General President Fowler, think Alpha, act Alpha.
That's Henry Lake Dickinson.
Henry Lake Dickinson. I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction.
Our 5th general president,
right.
Think Alpha Phi Alpha, talk Alpha Phi Alpha, promote Alpha Phi Alpha, and labor for the broad principles of idealism for which Alpha Phi Alpha was created, so that humanity shall look on us as a body worthwhile. That's the opening of the Leaven of Self-Examination, chapter 7 to 1914.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is that I remember when you started using that as a quote. I mean, I always thought that was an interesting statement to follow, and like I said, it spoke to me that you had studied the history and that you're appreciative of the history. And so during your presidency, were there particular ways that you sought to encourage the promotion of Alpha history, given your knowledge and understanding of it and your appreciation for it?
Oh, well, it's an amazing question. I certainly try to hold to the tenets of the history, even the poems that we learned as Alpha Phi Alpha men and those who were making their way into the organization. And I often talk about the fact that Rudyard Kipling, although he was a racist and at core, wrote one of the quintessential poems of our time
Absolutely.
in the poem of If.
Yes.
And I say also that we cannot necessarily just conform to the trends of society. We must look beyond and see where our place is and who we are.
Hmm.
All those, because trends come and go in society, but much like the Sphinx of Giza, we hold true to those self-evident tenets that are affiliated with the statue, that great statue of the Sphinx of Giza. That great Sphinx represents eons. And brothers, while I see, you want something that looks snazzy, whatever, but the fact that that ancient statue is still relevant, 5,000, really 10,000 years old,
Right.
shows that Alpha Phi Alpha has a place in history and its longevity.
So, as we get ready to want to be respectful of your time,
Sure.
but as we get ready to wind up, I want to ask you, and this may be a potentially a long question, but hopefully a fun one. Can you tell us about one or two of your most treasured moments as general presidents, like one or two moments that really stick out that you look back upon fondly?
There have been so many insightful moments for me, Brother Smoot. I can't tell you, there's more than one, but one in particular was the moment in Monrovia, Liberia, when the delegation of Alpha Phi Alpha brothers set foot on the grounds of the Republic of Liberia, where we assembled to support one of our brothers. Now, not in any condescending way, many members of other organizations have been honorarily managed and joined to different organizations, and we applaud them for that. But this was a duly initiated man who had joined our fraternity. And when I walked into the resolute office of the President of the Republic of Liberia, I saw our monogram, Alpha Phi Alpha, above the poem by William Ernest Henry, Invictus.
Mm-hmm.
This is in the resolute office of the President of a nation.
Wow.
And when brothers say, we don't know him, but he knows us.
Mm-hmm.
He is a part of us.
Right.
That part was amazing for me. And I think that was one of those moments that I will never forget. And I say the other moment that I think that particularly stands out for me is when I spoke at the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. And I stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, where Dr. King stood himself. And why it was personally reflective for me is that we had signs out there like we did back in the past, where Alpha Phi Alpha, the same configuration. And to think that our our cause, our efforts, our initiatives are still relevant. And now we also stand with our other Divine Nine brothers and sisters in an effort to ensure that the community is relevant and understands its place, and that we must continue to fight to be at the table. It was a very sobering moment. Two of the most significant. There's some others I could share.
Right.
Indeed.
Well, thank you for those. And I've got two more questions. And Brother McKinnis, if you want to get ready to come back on, I'm sure he may have a question. But is there anything that you want your administration to be remembered for? Is there anything that you want to the historians to point at and say, you know, General President Lonzer did this or was responsible for that or was able to, you know, accomplish this? Is there anything in particular you want your administration to be remembered for?
I would like my administration to be acknowledged for the fact that we led our fraternity through one, if not, I think it is the most tumultuous global pandemic in history.
Absolutely.
And that we established, although we've had many physicians and scientists in our organization, the elevation and the establishment of the Surgeon General was in particular of importance to us to be champions and to be participants in the better health experience of the world and better stewardship over our bodies, but also to be remembered for us escorting college men to opportunities to increase their professionalism through the suits and the registrations and training and developments that we tried to implement, including university partnerships, but also the rebranding or the realignment of our brand. We've always been there.
Right.
For us to declare again that we are the men of distinction was an important piece for us, seeing the resurgence of that clarion call to all alpha men to remember that you, much like we have heard through a very important ceremony that we all have experienced, that we walk not like how other Gentiles walk.
Right.
We have to have, I'll give Yoda the credit for this, not looking to the future, but always where you are right now, what you are doing right now.
Right.
What are you experiencing? Because our word, other Greeks, other people, look at what we do. They want to know why we make those decisions. And we've not been an administration that has been exclusionary in that sense. We've never had anti-rhetoric at all.
Right.
We have been about establishing who we are. And I'll close on this one that we pulled out of Florida and told Ron DeSantis,
yes,
that you're going to get some of our money because we have brothers that are there, but you will not get all of our money. And we underplayed our potential effort for earning. And we had, as I have been told, arguably one of the best general conventions in Dallas. We had the first hybrid and it was successful.
Yes.
One of the best in-person general conventions in maybe the last 60 years. It was an amazing convention, if I must say so myself.
And so my final question before I throw things over to our district director, I want to ask you a similar question to what I asked your successor, the General President-elect, Brother Lucian Metellus, who will be installed as the 37th General President of Alpha Phi Alpha. Who are the hardest working brothers in Alpha, and why are they always deuces from Theta?
That's not true at all.
Let me say that I assure you this is only a non-alcoholic beverage in the cup, water, but those types of comments will drive me to other devices that I can't even speak to on camera. But we will continue to pray for you in your deuce-ship, as I am a deuce as well.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again, brother General President.
I am a deuce.
You are a deuce?
I am a deuce.
And you are a deuce.
I will admit that to the end of the day. But that other business we will continue to pray with. My ministry will continue as we work with you. And I will say that it has been indeed an honor to be, and it continues to be an honor to be a member. I mean, I've been in the Illinois district now for, believe it or not, 11,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
12, 13 years it'll be in this fall, this spring, that I officially moved my practice and professional activities due to promotion to Illinois. And the brothers have been very warm and always still connect me to Ohio, and that's fine. Ohio, they were some good brothers, and I enjoyed leading the brothers. But if you're gonna have to move, what a great place to move and be a part of. And I definitely take on the Chicago swag, and
Absolutely.
It's been a great thing, indeed. But thank you, brother Smoot. I appreciated the engagement and was looking forward to when I knew you would be on. Oh, I knew it would be a lot of fun. And brother District Director, were there any closing comments you had for me?
Sure, brother General President. First of all, thank you. I think the world of you and your beautiful family, and I always have admired the structure that you present. I'll leave with this. I think one of the hallmarks of your presidency will, in fact, be leading this fraternity through the COVID years. I attended the first convention we had in Indianapolis during COVID, and it was clear to me that Alpha Phi Alpha was leading the way in the way that we organized that convention. And I did not hear of an outbreak from that convention, the way that we had heard from other conventions across the world, be it fraternal or otherwise. That was not only unprecedented, but it was a very unusual time to lead any organization. And I think that the scientific and the biological and the biomedicine background that you brought to the office was exactly what Alpha needed at that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it was not by happenstance that the person leading the fraternity was someone with not just casual knowledge, but an in-depth knowledge and tested knowledge of the scientific world. And so I, like other brothers, watched from afar as you walked the fraternity through that very tumultuous period. And that should be commendable and something that I hope the historians get right about, your time as general president. On the personal side, I want to say this. One of the ways that Brother Lonzer connected with my family, there have been many, but there was one in particular, Brother Smoot. I don't talk about this often, but my wife has Crohn's disease, and it's something that she has suffered with for many years. And one of her first encounters with Brother Lonzer was learning that he was a part of the scientific team and community that developed the drug that helped her get through very difficult moments, Humira. And we always remembered that because that was a connecting period. And for those of you who know how these diseases work, they often fight against your body. And to have someone with very intimate knowledge of what she was enduring and the difficult moments that she does endure as having Crohn's disease was one of those kind of plugs that just unite you with someone. So, Brother Lonzer, thank you for your leadership and for being a brother beloved in this fraternity. And we look forward to many more years of good fellowship.
Amen.
And good bourbon by the fireside.
Indeed. Thank you, brother.
And a good cigar.
Indeed. And we will continue to minister to Brother Chuck Smoot in his efforts to continue to move forward in the fraternity. It's a ministry of love and appreciation, fraternal love, a bond that is unbreakable. And we appreciate you, brother. We do. Thank you both. Thank you for hosting me.
Indeed.
It has been an honor to serve our fraternity as the general president.
Well, I think it has been our honor to serve under you and to follow your leadership. So we do thank you for your leadership and your stewardship. And, we're looking forward to your impact on the fraternity, moving forward, because just because you won't be general president anymore, don't mean that we're not going to come to you to help us get work done. So,
well, that I'm there for that reason. I have often referred to the past general presidents as sentinels for
Right.
the fraternity.
Hmm.
That we must keep an ever vigilant watch as you all work with us and we work with you to always uplift the fraternity. So blessings to both of you.
Thank you.
An honor to be with you tonight. And as we move into this Advent season fully, with the coming of what we recognize as Christmas, New Year's, the new year brings opportunities, and I say a prayer respectfully for our General President elect that he continue to have success, his family's blessed, that he's professionally blessed. It is a sacrifice, and I look forward to seeing you brothers sooner than later.
Absolutely.
So be well. And Chuck, when you're in well, I was going to say, if you're on 53rd Street and you walk into Valle's, look around.
It'll be, if I see you, lunch or dinner's on me.
I'm gonna remember that.
I know you will. I know you will. I know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Brother McKenzie.
Let me thank you again for hosting, and to all of those in the virtual world. We had Smoot between the YouTube audience and the Facebook audience. We had well over 100 brothers tune in tonight.
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful.
This has been an extraordinary discussion. To all those watching, happy holidays. And we wish you well with your families. And if we do not get a chance to touch before the new year, we bid you Happy New Year in the year 2025. And looking forward to the Fireside chat that's coming again in 2025. So with that being said, brothers and guests, thank you and blessings to you and yours.
Blessings. You. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, brothers, and happy holidays to everyone watching.
Take care.